Hello and welcome to this video. In this video, I am going to be speaking to you about EMFs. Let me start by sharing my screen, and we're going to talk about natural EMFs. We're going to talk about man-made EMFs, and I will share with you what is the solution that I utilize for the man-made EMFs. So basically, electromagnetic fields, EMFs, are both natural and man-made, as I just said. And so some of the natural sources are sunlight. The sun emits a broad spectrum of electromagnetic radiation. So that's the visible light, the ultraviolet rays that we see, the infrared radiation. And there are huge benefits from this type of light, right? We are light beings, and this is really, really beneficial for us. The sun is incredibly helpful for our health. And we also have a magnetic field with the earth, which is a natural geomagnetic field because of the movement of the molten iron in its outer core. And this is the field that affects compass readings and is actually used in aviation. And then, of course, we have lightning, which is really, really spectacular to witness. I myself am a big fan of lightning storms. I just think they're so spectacular to look at and see. So the lightning actually generates electromagnetic waves across a wide range of frequencies, including radio waves and X-rays as well. So let's talk about some of the man-made EMFs and what we want to be paying attention to. So there are, of course, electrical appliances, things like refrigerators, microwaves, toasters that have a very low level EMF waves when they are operating. And then, of course, we have power lines, which are voltage, and they also have a low frequency EMF. And the strength of this EMF really changes rapidly as we get away from the source. And then the the EMFs that we are probably the most affected by are our cell phones, and I would say 5G towers, as well as wireless devices that we utilize on a daily basis. And these actually emit a radio frequency EMF to communicate over networks, wireless networks. And so that would be anything in your home, like cell phones, tablets, laptops, anything that you have that operates wirelessly. And then, of course, we have our Wi-Fi routers as well, which use radio waves to transmit data between the devices and the internet. And we've got broadcast towers, which are responsible for radio and television broadcast. That those emit RF radiation to transmit signals over long, long distances. And then, of course, we have got radar systems as well, which are used in weather forecasting, aviation, military operations. And these systems emit an RF radiations. And then microwave ovens, which I covered in the previous slide, those cover it. Those actually have a type of RF radiation to heat food. But just a little note on microwave ovens. If you use microwave ovens, because of the way that they heat the food, they actually destroy all the living enzymes and nutrients. So I myself personally don't use a microwave. We have a microwave in our house, but no one uses it, just because it basically completely denatures the food. So there's no point in utilizing it whatsoever. So let's talk about some other places where you can be exposed to EMFs. We've got medical equipment, especially imaging equipment like MRI machines that have to use a strong magnetic field and radio frequency radiation. So these are things that you wouldn't be utilizing on a regular basis. And then we also have to be mindful of the wiring within homes and the electrical systems that produce a low level of EMF. And that would really depend on, as you are in different parts of your home, how many outlets there are in each room. Some rooms have more, some rooms have less, but these are things that you just want to be aware of, that there is this low level of EMF that is emitted all the time. And then other sources are transmitting antennas. So antennas that are used for cell towers, satellite dishes, other forms of communication, Bluetooth devices that communicate over short distances, which are using RF radiation. Induction cooktops, these also use electromagnetic fields to directly heat the cookware. And the reason that I'm sharing all of this is oftentimes when it comes to EMFs, people usually think right away about cell phones and their electronic devices, but they don't actually think about these other things like outlets in a room, and the fact that those things do emit a low level of EMF all the time. And so it's really, really important to understand where in your life you're exposed to EMFs and how that might be impacting your health. And some people I know, actually, I have a friend who is very, very sensitive to EMFs. And like she, even for her to hold her cell phone, it's painful for her. So for someone like that, EMF blocking devices are really, really important. So understanding where EMF comes from can really help you to make some informed decisions when it comes to managing your exposure and making sure that you are not being impacted through the EMFs. So EMFs are present absolutely everywhere, whether they're coming from natural sources or man-made sources. And it's really the man-made sources that we want to be more aware of, because what happens with EMF is that what it's doing at the cell level is it's actually disrupting the cellular communication between all of your cells. And that has an impact on your body. It's not something that you want to just ignore and sweep under the rug. So the frequencies that we're getting from cell phones and 5G towers is radically different from what we're experiencing when we're out in the sun, right? They have very, very different implications for our body. So there are two main types of EMF: ionizing, such as X-rays, and non-ionizing, such as radio waves. And so what we really want to be focusing on is the non-ionizing radiation, which is considered less harmful. But what I would caution you with is that when we're exposed to the non-ionizing EMF, we're getting it from multiple different sources, and that can really accumulate. And here are some potential things that we want to be aware of. So some of the health impacts are whether or not this long-term exposure to EMFs, like from cell phones and power lines and Wi-Fi, can cause health issues, including links to cancer. And I've witnessed, just from doing my practice and meeting with people, and even that friend that I was just speaking about, is that some people are very, very sensitive to EMFs, and they do feel the implications, whether it's dealing with, a pain if they're holding a device, or whether things like headache or skin issues or fatigue. Um, and that's something to be aware of. Even if you are someone who can tolerate EMFs, it is still really, really important, I think, to actually try and mitigate as much of the damage as possible, because it is disrupting that communication between your cells. So I myself, I spend a lot of time on my devices because of the type of work that I do. My work is 100% virtual, so I'm always on my phone or my laptop. And for that reason, I have EMF protection, because I want to make sure I'm not damaging my health in the pursuit of trying to help others, right? It would defeat the purpose. So, there needs to be update in the standards and the guidelines for EMF exposure. Definitely when it comes to young kids, you want to try to keep them away from devices as much as possible, especially because there are implications for neurological health. And with kids, their brains are just developing. So the more you can get them away from cell phones and tablets and have them play outside and be in nature, that is going to be far more beneficial for them. And also making sure that in your home you have EMF protection so they are not being affected by the EMFs to the same degree. So, hopefully that in the years to come, there's going to be more regulation regarding EMFs. There are also concerns about the impact of EMF on wildlife and ecosystems, especially since we have so much wireless technology these days. And there isn't a ton of research that's being done, but it is definitely something that we want to be aware of. That there is an impact that happens in nature when we collectively as a species take over and start to do things that are, you know, these devices which are communicating through long, long distances, not to mention the disruption of building power lines and all of the technology that we build. So, one of the best things to do is to really have some type of EMF protection. I personally don't use wireless headsets ever. I still to this day use earphones, which maybe looks strange to some people because I see so many people walking around with wireless headsets. But those wireless headsets really, really do disrupt your brain. And I personally don't recommend them. I don't use them. So that's something to look at as well in terms of reducing the amount of EMF and trying to limit the use of wireless devices as much as possible. And if you know that you're around a strong source of EMF, really distancing yourself. So, one of the things that I personally practice and really encourage people to do is making sure that their phone is charging in another room, not in the room that they're sleeping in, and that they turn their phone into airplane mode overnight so that those signals aren't constantly being transferred. And I actually heard a stat something like 20% of people sleep with their phone underneath their pillow, which is not good whatsoever. You do not want to be having your phone underneath your pillow. So, in terms of sleep hygiene, just so that you can get better, more restful sleep, I highly, highly advise having your phone charged in another room and just keeping it away from your bed as much as possible. So I personally use Aires Tech. I've been using them for about a year and a half. I love them. A lot of pro athletes like NHL players, people who are a part of the UFC, football players also utilize Aries Tech. So a lot of pro athletes use Aries Tech. And I was using Aries Tech before all these pro athletes got onto it. And now it seems like more and more athletes are jumping onto the Aries Tech bandwagon all the time. So what makes this technology really, really special is they've had over 25 clinical trials. They've had 9 peer-reviewed studies that have also been looked at. So on their website, when you go to their website, you're going to see all the research. You can definitely geek out and look into the research and feel confident that you're investing in something that's going to actually help you. And so the way that Aries Tech works is it utilizes a special EM field that actually creates a fractal coherent matrix to create a protective barrier around biological objects. So that would be us and between ourselves and whatever the EMF exposure is. So we're protected, but the device that we're using, it still continues to function. And it just uses this fractal matrix to create that barrier. So it's really, really cool. I definitely recommend going to their website and checking it out. And I'm going to share with you what are the EMF devices that I personally use. So if you've been watching my videos, you see that I always have this on. This is the Flex device. and its range in terms of range of protection is 42 feet. So I personally always have it on me. I'm always wearing this device 24/7. I even sleep with it on. The only time I take it off is when I'm showering or if I'm in the sauna because I don't want it to get damaged in any way. I also use the Life Tune Zone for my office. It sits on my desk. This has a range of 93 feet. So I have a decent size office. I mean, I haven't quite measured it, but it's a good size. And so I always have this sitting on my desk to make sure that I've got like a little extra EMF protection in my home office. And then for our living space downstairs, we have a open concept kitchen, dining room, and living room. So for that, I've got the Zone Max, and the range on this is 139 feet. So it has a pretty good range. It's actually perfect for open spaces. So this is what I utilize in my own home. Absolutely love these devices. I personally think they're pretty to look at. And yeah, so this is what I've been working with for well over a year and absolutely swear by it. I do have a 30% off code. So on that last slide, you would have seen that. And it's also linked on my recommended products page. It is really an amazing technology, and I do hope that you get into some EMF protection. Yes, it's good to put your phone into airplane mode overnight and get away from it. But even when you've got your phone into airplane mode, you have to also consider that you've got outlets in whatever room that you're sleeping in. And your neighbors most likely do not turn off their Wi Fi at night. So you are still being affected by the Wi Fi of all your neighbors around you. So it's not just about what you're doing, it's also about all the other exposure. And I know for myself, like if I look at my phone and I see all the networks around me, there's the network from my neighbor across the street, the two neighbors beside me, the neighbor next door. So that's the other thing to keep in mind. And I know for a fact when I go into the city and I look at all the networks, it's crazy how many wireless networks we're exposed to. So I personally think it's very, very wise to have EMF protection 24/7 because we are surrounded by so many networks all the time. And any way that you can support your health, your vitality, it's always going to benefit you. Some of the benefits that I've noticed since I've started to incorporate EMF protection is that I was getting to a stage where I really, really felt like my nervous system was extra stressed. Like I just could not seem to calm myself down. And since I brought in the EMF protection, I've definitely felt like my nervous system has become more regulated. I'm getting better sleep, deeper sleep. And so those have been some of the benefits that I've noticed from having EMF protection. And I just made sure that I sought out the best device out there or the best support out there to help me. And yeah, highly recommend Aires Tech. Of course, if you have any questions about Aires Tech or just EMF protection in general, please drop it into the comments. I'm more than happy to do another video if needed. And I hope you found this video to be helpful. Share it with anyone you think could really benefit from this information. And if you are not subscribed to this channel, make sure that you subscribe. There is new content that goes up every single week. And I talk about a whole range of subjects related to holistic health and well-being, as well as mindset. I do have a live that comes on every single Monday at 2:15 p.m. Eastern. So you can also come to the live call and check out all the goodies below and in the description. And of course, thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. And I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.